Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of exercise questions from lesson 8.5. The first one that was asked about was problem 3B. It says, starting with area of 88 centimeters squared, find the D for diameter of the circle. And so to do this one, you want to do the same thing you were doing for calculating radius on the previous questions. You should have that formula somewhere, but I'm going to write it down here. To get the radius, you would take the square root of the area divided by pi. So substitute 88 in for that equation. Once we have the radius, in order to get the diameter, all we need to do is multiply that answer by 2. Radius goes halfway across the circle, right? So if we know the number going halfway across, we can double it to get the number going all the way across the circle. So whatever the radius answer is, times that answer by 2. If your calculator does order of operations correctly, you could, in theory, do this entire thing. Make sure you're closing your parentheses in one step, or just do it in 2 steps. Calculate the radius first, and then multiply it by 2 to get the diameter. Next up, question number 4 is much more complicated. 5 is going to be pretty much the same as 4, but we're going to have to calculate the area of 2 different shapes. First, the circle on the outside of the shaded region, and then the rectangle on the inside of that shaded region. So we need the area of the circle, and you should have that formula somewhere in your notes, but I'm going to write it here as well. Area of a circle is pi times radius squared, and you should have the area for the rectangle, probably on lesson 8.1. Area of a rectangle was base times height. So finding the radius, finding the base and the height is a little more complicated because we're given some coordinates in ordered pairs rather than the actual dimensions of the shape. So we're going to have to figure out those measurements. This 5, 0 over here, we did talk about ordered pairs in chapter 7. What that means is from the origin of this graph, that's 5 units over and 0 units up. So if I'm going from here to here, that should pretty clearly be the radius of this circle, which tells me that radius is 5. So I can substitute 5 into my area of a circle formula to get the area of a circle. Then this ordered pair of 3, 4 tells me that from the origin, it's 3 units over and 4 units up. So I think I'm going to switch. So that means that this piece right here is going to be 3 because that's from this point to this point. So that's 3. And then from this point to this point, that piece is going to be 4. So what we're going to say then is on this rectangle, the whole base is going to be 3 and 3. So the whole base is going to be 6. And the height here, this piece is 4, so if we have 4 and 4, that means the whole height is going to be 4. That was supposed to look like a times, but it didn't really happen. Oh, and then I wrote down the wrong number, because it's 8, because 4 and 4 is 8. So 4 and 4 is 8. So we can do pi times 5 squared for the area of the circle, and then we can do 6 times 8 for the area of the rectangle. And then to get the final answer, we're going to take the circle answer and we're going to subtract the square answer. So I'm going to try to write circle answer minus rectangle answer will give us the area that we're looking for. And question 5 is very similar, but we're using a triangle instead of a rectangle. Area for a triangle was back on 8.2. if I'm remembering my formulas correctly, but that was base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to leave it up to you to try to figure out the radius, the base, and the height for those formulas. But after you have your circle answer and your triangle answer, then you can subtract them to get your final area. And then 6 and 7 are easier. You're just going to go straight to your normal formulas that we had earlier. How to get the radius of a circle, how to get the area of a circle, and this one straight up tells us the radius is 40 and we are trying to find the area. So we got to just plug that radius into the area formula. This one's the reverse. It tells us we have an area of 804 square meters, and if we're trying to find the length of an arm, that's basically saying find the length of the radius, because if we have our circular farm plot that we're trying to water, here's the sprinkler arm that's rotating around to water that. We're basically looking for what is the radius of this circle. So given the area, find the radius. Given the radius, find the area. Those are much more straightforward. I will leave it at that. Good luck, and let me know if you have more questions. Thank you.